here we are. It is Friday, February 2nd, 2024. January flew by, I guess, went by very quickly. And this, of course, is the weekly video. If you're a regular here, you know what we go over. We talk about auctions at different companies around the world, what's happening with the Chinese and Asian art market particularly. And then, of course, lately we've been talking more and more about other antiques, Western antiques, American furniture, European furniture, carpets, and all that good stuff, because they all integrate very well. And I think that if you're building a collection of Asian art, you should also think about building, having a collection with some nice antique furniture on which to put it around your house. It really makes a big difference in how you live, and it gives your house a great atmosphere. There's a few things I want a little housekeeping to go over before we get started. One of the things was for the Patreon users this morning. I know some of you got the email. Some of you may not have seen your email yet. We uploaded to the Patreon pages 8 new books. Most of these are Metropolitan Museum publications that were put out. They're out of print, but you still can here and there grab the PDF files and upload them and share them. They read the same. And we did a bunch of them. I had a bunch of them I had piled up. One of them is Cultivated Landscapes, Chinese Paintings from the Marie Helene and Guy Well collection. This was published back, I think, in the 1980s or something. It's a very good book, though. It is well written. And then after that is the Nakamura collection of Japanese ceramics. And this was an exhibition going back 30 years ago, but it was one of the great collections of Chinese pottery, porcelain, teawares, all of it. It's a great little book, and I think you'd enjoy that. And then there's a Japanese lacquer from 1600 to 1900. And this is the Greenfield collection that was donated to the Met, or a big part of it was anyway. And they did an exhibition catalog. And those of you that like rugs are probably familiar with the name Ballard, the famous Ballard collection of rugs that was donated. He donated 129 of some of the rarest carpets in the world to the Metropolitan Museum in 1923. And to celebrate the occasion, they published a very good book on the subject, and there's lots of good information there. And if you like to read collector stories and what drove them and how they got into things, this is a really interesting book. And it's written, of course, in the voice of just a little over 100 years ago. And you'll see by going through it that collectors really haven't changed very much. A collector is a collector, and whether he's doing it in 1920 or 1620 or 2023, they share a lot of common motivations. It's interesting. And then there's the Burke collection of Japanese art, another great collection that was given to the Met. Japanese blue and white, early export wares. It's a good book, lots of information about Arita and how the kilns got started in the 1600s. It's very well written. And there's several more. Wisdom Embodied. This is one on Taoist and Buddhist sculpture. The Metropolitan Collection comes from the Strahan Collection. Very, very nice, and so forth. We also put up, as you know, we did a couple of videos for the Patreon channel this week as well, and so forth. But at any rate, if you do the Patreon thing, if you're a subscriber, you want to download these books. You can carry them around in your phone, use them, read them at quiet moments when you're waiting for someone, or you're, waiting at an airport or train terminal or bus terminal somewhere. You can pick it out and have a little read for yourself. All right, now, what else has been going on? The wallpaper. I mentioned this piece of this thing. This is coming up at Freeman's, Heinemann Freeman's, because Freeman's is now part of Heineman's. I don't know if you all know that Heinemann and Freeman galleries merged, and they have this sale coming up. And it's they have these Chinese wallpaper panels, and there's a lot of debate. I've had many inquiries about this, so I thought I'd better just talk about it. People are wondering if this is really wallpaper or is it a very large painting that was cut down and they're not sure. I've looked at it and looked at the dimensions of these sheets, and the only thing they could be is wallpaper based on the size of the sheets. They're 6 or 7 feet tall, several feet wide, and I have little doubt that these were originally made as wallpaper during the late Qianlong to early Caijing period, probably. They're beautifully painted. They're really, really nice. I think the estimate is sort of a joke on these, but these are wonderful. These are big pictures. All right, keep that in mind. These are not small. They are 70, each panel is 73 inches tall and 38 inches wide. So that's a pretty big piece of art. And it would look fabulous, in a dining room, a hallway at the end of a living room or something. They'd look absolutely amazing. But these are big pictures. They're not little, 15 by 20 inch images. They're big. And I think the estimate of 1,500 to 2,500 is silly. It's already got 4 bids. It's up to 1,400. I would expect it to bring 4 to 6, 5 to 7,000 for the pair. They're beautifully done. They are late 18th to early 19th century and wonderful quality. But the Chinese typically didn't do paintings on sheets this big. For their traditional art, but on wallpaper, which was a long-standing tradition starting mostly in the 18th century, they began doing them first by printing wallpaper, using Chinese prints for them, and then around 1770 or so, the 1760s, they began painting them all by hand. And they produced some absolutely extraordinarily beautiful things, and I think this is a great example. I really do. I really, really like these panels. All right, and then over to this. This is a sale that's coming up. This is at Leonard Auctions in Addison, Illinois. And if you like Japanese carving, this is a nice thing. This is Fudaishi, and he was the fellow that basically brought Buddhism to Japan. They've dated this as being 17th century. I don't think it is. I think it's a later example from probably from the Meiji period or something, judging by the crispness, the type of carving, the way the eyes are done, and so forth, the way the face is done. But it's a wonderful carving. I'm not. This is not a disparagement on this carving at all. It's a really good one, and it's very big. This thing the overall height of this thing is 55 inches tall. So this is not, a 5-inch statue sitting on a little plexiglass stand. This is a big statue, and it's a little over 4 feet in height. And so it's a big carving, and I think it's beautifully done. I think the quality is top notch on this, absolutely top notch all the way around. And there's an old label on the back of it. Well, I guess it was labeled as being from 1700. I don't think it is. I think it's a later example. But the estimate is extremely reasonable: 5 to 700, $250 opening bid. And this is at Leonard Auctions in Addison, Illinois. They're on Live Auctioneers. The rest of the sale didn't look like too much, but this is a nice carving. If you're into Japanese Buddhist art and that sort of thing, you want to check this out. It's one of the nicer ones I've seen in recent years. And then there's this. This is at Leonard Auctions, also in Addison. There's a couple of pieces. I'm going to go over them. The rest of them I'm not going to spend any time on. But these will all be on the global newsletter, on the global member pages tomorrow for the Patreon and the global member page subscribers. But this is a very nice bronze, and they've not really dated it. They haven't put it. Maybe they don't know. But this is probably a late Ming to early Qing bronze. It's very nicely done. The eyes, the way the eyes are done, and a few of the little elements on it make me lean a bit toward the Qing dynasty, but it's definitely an old bronze. And it's got a good surface on it. It's been left to, it hasn't been treated very well over its life. From what I'm seeing, it could definitely use a little oiling, a little cleaning up, gently. You don't want to polish these, obviously, but you want to get some life back into the surface. And this should be a mixture of bronze, and there's gilt lacquer still remaining here. You can see where it's worn off. But all this dirt and grunge down here, this will all clean up beautifully and be a beautiful bronze. It's estimated at only $500 to $700. I would think this would bring between $3,000 and $4,000. So we'll see, but it's a good-looking bronze, and I think it's just misdated. I think maybe this auction house isn't used to dating things. I don't think they're being duplicitous. I think they left it out because they weren't certain. All right, and then over to this. This is the last. I think this is the last of the Leonard sales. Yeah, it is. Is this one? This is an interesting grouping. I always suggest people buy groups of things because usually the breakup value, if you're a dealer, you can break them up and make a good profit. And here you have. What is this, 15 pieces? Oh, I forget how many there are. An assortment, it just says 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 bronzes. Now, some of them are probably 19th century, but a couple of them look like they have some age to them. And this one on the left, this one, the second one in, this one possibly, that one looks okay, that one looks okay. Across the bottom, I'm not too sure about that one. This one might be okay. If it's Tibetan, it's probably 19th century. And then you have this head here that looks like is it made out of pak tong or silver? What is it made out of? You want to find out. But at any rate, this is a good lot. If you're a dealer, think about this. Think about the breakup value, what you could get for each piece. The biggest piece is 7 inches tall, so they're not big bronzes, but the ones in the top row should all be worth roughly $350 to $450 each minimum, and the ones on the bottom row should all be worth a couple of hundred, I would think. So you've got 11 pieces. You got about $3,000 or $4,000 if you break it up, I think, in value here. So if you're looking for something as a dealer, you want to make some money, or you collect bronzes, and there's one in here you might want to keep for yourself, buy the lot, sell them off. It's a great way to get other collectors to pay for your collection. There's nothing wrong with that. But always look at large lots like this and look at them carefully and think about what it is that you're looking at and what the potential breakup value could be. For example, for a dealer, dealers love lots. They like box lots. They like tray lots because people rarely calculate in their heads accurately when they're bidding what the lot would be worth if you broke it up. And sometimes it's just a monetary limitation. They don't have the money to go over 500 or 600. But if you're in the position to spend, you want to chase these, I would try to buy this lot for between $1,200 and $1,600. And I think there's a good profit to be made. You could probably double your money. All right. Now over to this. This is a sale. This is J. Solomon they're in Georgia, right? Yeah, Monticello, Georgia. This is rather nice. They've dated it as a Ching hat box. It could be Vietnamese because the Vietnamese did a lot of this mother of pearl inlaid box work, but it's wonderful quality, and it looks like it's in pretty good condition. I don't see any splits. The banding is a little loose here on the top, but the rest of it looks pretty good. I would get a condition report on this. I think their estimate is very reasonable, 600 to 800. I expect it'll probably bring at least 500. I would think. And if you're a dealer and you have collectors who buy inlaid wooden wares with mother of pearl and precious stones and all this is something that will appeal to a pretty broad audience of collectors. It's a very nice one because most of the time when they have these elements on there, like they have on this one, they don't show human forms too much. Often they just show flowers and Buddhist symbols and that sort of stuff. This one has horseback riders and all kinds of activity going on. I think it's a nice looking box. It's got a great look to it, and the mother of pearl seems to be in pretty good shape from what I can see. You want to get a condition report and make sure there'll be a couple of pieces of mother of pearl missing, I'm sure. But overall, it looks like it's in pretty good shape, and I think the estimate is reasonable, and the starting bid is just $250. So how far wrong can you go? Now, over to this. I've had a number of inquiries about this marble Buddha head. It's also in Solomon's down in Georgia. And they didn't date this either, because I don't think maybe they weren't quite sure how to do it. The ear has been damaged. I looked at this the other day. I've looked at this right now so far for 5 people maybe, and I've told them all the same thing. The ear has been damaged on one side here. It's been chipped away. Something broke off of here, and that's why it looks like that. And I did contact the auctioneer and ask them if the ear is damaged, because it certainly looks it, and they confirmed that it has been. So the only thing you can see is the ear isn't. The ears are helpful sometimes for dating and coming up with how it was carved. But when you look at the rest of this piece and what looks to be like very natural wear on this. It's extremely smooth. It's rather dirty, grungy. It has not been well taken care of during its life, but the carving quality is exceptional. The way the eyelids are done, the brows are done, the lips are done, the nose, all of it is a very, very tight package and done by a highly competent carver. The question is, how old is it? Is it Sui dynasty? Is it earlier? Is it later? Without examining it in person, it's awfully hard to tell. What I will say is that this is at the most recent early Qing, I believe. So it's probably 17th century, late 17th century or earlier. How much earlier you'd have to do? I haven't done all the legwork on it, to take out every marble head I've ever seen. But this one absolutely has age to it, in my opinion. The way it's done, the finish on it, and I think that the top of it also has a little bit of rubbing. They've included some extra pictures. Okay, there's the damaged ear, and you can see that this was definitely broken off. There's an area there that was broken. All right, and then on the top, there's a little bit of wear or something happened up here, or it may have just been the stone and how it was set wherever it was, whatever cave it was taken out of. But I'm pretty certain this is a good old one, and the estimate is very cheap, $500 to $700. I expect this will probably bring somewhere in the $6,000 to $8,000 range. There's a lot of bidders on this. There's still 10 days to go before the 11. What is it? There's 9 days to go before the auction. It already has 34 bidders watching it, and I think 5 of them are users here. I'm sure maybe more of you, but I think it's an awfully nice looking marble. I think it's got good age to it, and if you want to give you something to do, go do some searches for early Chinese marble heads, because this is a nice one, and it's fairly good size. They didn't bother with the dimensions in here, but I believe they said it's about 12 inches tall without the stand, somewhere around there. So you might want to chase that, get a condition report, get as much information as you can, and go from there. But this looks like a sort of a sleeper in the sale. All right, and then this is a charger. It's an armorial plate with the family of. I love the coloring on it. That's why I'm showing it. There we go. It's let's see, the export plate bearing the arms of Mertens impaling Peck, 1725. So Yongchen period. Nice looking armorial plate, very bright, very happy colors. I like the colors on this. They seem very optimistic, I guess. Sort of bright, cheerful colors, and nicely patterned on the armorial crest. It's beautifully drawn, and I don't see any wear to it, and I don't see any cracks or chips. So this is a nice plate, and as I said, it's 12 inches in diameter. It's a big one. The estimate, I think, is very low. Expect it to bring 600 to 800 anyway. 12 inches in diameter. It's a nice piece. And then over to this. This is at Freeman's at Heineman's, the Freeman auctions coming up on the 14th. Now they have this listed as being on pith paper, and it doesn't look like pith paper. So if you like Chinese watercolors, I would get a hold of them. Have them make sure, absolutely certain, this is not on English paper or Chinese paper, because it doesn't have the tone of pith. To me, it doesn't. It may be really fine pith work, but it may also be on paper. Either way, it's a wonderful pair of paintings. They're beautifully done. They're tastefully framed, ready to hang. They're wonderful, and the estimate on them is very, very reasonable. $600 to $800. They're thinking $300 to $400 for each painting, but beautiful quality. They've dated them as 18th to early 19th century, which I think is about right. That era between 1780 and 90 and 1820, they did a lot of this kind of work. They put a lot of stuff on albums. Many of them are exported in albums to the West and so forth on China trade ships and that sort of thing. But these are really nice and ready to go. Think of it this way, though. To get these, I always mention the framing because people don't like to hear about that, but these have French mats, these nicely done French mats, nicely framed, ready to go. And to get 2 paintings like this, just framed like this, if you bought the paintings loose, it's going to cost you around $500 to $600 just to get them framed for 2 of them, $300 a piece, easy, especially with a fancy French mat. So you have to include that in your head when you're bidding. You always take into account other costs. And the other cost in buying paintings, of course, is getting them into a frame because people prefer to buy things in frames. People don't like to run around. If it's got a nice frame on it, most people are very happy with that. And these are tasteful. They'll work on any interior. There's no reason to change them. So it's a great value-added aspect. So again, $600 to $800 seems very reasonable for these. All right. And how many watchers are on those? There are 12 people already on that. All right, and then over to this. This is a nice lot. This is coming up at Bonham's in about 5 days. It's an interesting little lot of small blue and white pieces. There's a couple of bird feeders in here, stem covered box, a little vase, another snuff bottle, and so forth. But it's a cute lot, and there is money in this if you buy it right, because again, you've got the breakup value. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. And assuming that they're worth it, some of them will be worth $200 or $300, and a couple of them will be worth between $100 and $150. So you got about $1,500 to $1,800 worth of total value here if you broke them up and sold them. So see if you can buy them for a price, including all the costs and so forth. Again, this might be a lot that a dealer could make money on. Or if you're thinking of, you see something in here and you like it, again, you get back to the old buy the lot, pull out the piece you want for yourself, and then sell the rest on eBay or someplace. They'll do fine, and you'll end up adding to your collection for free. All right, a little legwork. All right, now this is in Bonham's, Boston. It's Skinner's, and I'm not sure what happened here, but they're calling it China Kangxi style. This is not Kangxi style. This is transitional, in my opinion. I don't think this is not a Kangxi style anything. It's a transitional period pre Kangxi vase, and I think it's wonderful. I like the brown dressing on it. I do not think this is a reproduction. I love. It's a very unusual pattern with the Kirin, with the man on the horse. It's not a Kirin, and being followed with a gentleman with a Buddhist umbrella. It's beautifully done. It's about 7 inches in height. The estimate is very low, 400 to 600. It's 7 and 1/8 inches tall. Came from a collection. I don't know who it is. Douglas Butcher, whoever he was. It's coming out of the Rensselaer County Historical Society. But in any event, I don't know why they called it style. And if it's any style at all, it's transitional style. So I'm not sure what the folks at Skinner are doing. But anyway, this certainly looks like a transitional period vase to me, and I would bid on it accordingly. All right, my thoughts. Now over to this. This is another piece that's in the sale. This is a Femi-Vert sort of rouleau vase. They're dating this. This is also at Skinner Boston. Well, I think the sale is taking place out of Marlborough, but it's through Skinner's here in Massachusetts. Is this Femi-Vert rouleau vase with this very, very, very soft yellow ground. Now, this soft yellow ground started turning up on vases, in particular toward the end of the Qing dynasty, especially during the Guangxu period, and then after too. But looking at it by the foot rim, looking at it by the colors, the body, the way it's decorated, I don't think this is a 20th century one. I think it's probably a mid-19th to Guangxu period example. I think it's very nicely done. It looks like it's in good shape. It's 17 inches tall. It's a big vase. And it has a $600 to $800 estimate. It should bring, I believe, based on the date that I think the thing should have, it should bring around $1,100 to $1,600. It's a nice looking piece of porcelain. I think again they've sort of, maybe they're playing the dating game very conservatively. I don't know, but this is a nice looking vase, and the decoration on it is just excellent. I love the soft color. I think is what it is. Love that soft yellow color. I had a pair of vases somewhat similar in coloration to these a few years ago from a house in Manchester up here, and they sold immediately to a dealer friend of mine in Hong Kong. He bought them right away. I think he paid around $5,000 for them. But anyway, this is a very nice looking vase, and if you like rouleau vases and you like that style, and you don't think you can shell out the $15,000 or $20,000 for the Kangxi example, this is a good option. All right, and now over to this. This is also in the Bonham's Boston sale. Is this grisaille decorated chocolate pot? It's a nice one. Side-handled chocolate pot with a European lady, and over her shoulder is a harbor scene, which they often use in these paintings. They often would show somebody in a window with boats anchored just out there, and she's in here. She's got her sewing kit. You see her needle and thread and so forth. But this is a nice little pot, and it looks like it's in good shape. As always, you always want to get a condition report, make sure the handles haven't been reattached, the spout hasn't been repaired. But overall, it's a nice one, and the estimate's very reasonable, $500 to $700. It should get there. There are 6 or so bidders watching it right now, but it should get up to $700 to $1,000. But it's a good example. It's a nice thing. And then this embroidered silk dragon valance. This is a pretty long one. It's over It's about 6 feet long. This is a big piece of silk. And they're dating it as Republic. It could be late Qing as well. Very nice golden yellow color. The color on this is really very striking. It's been mounted, that border around it, it's a mount from something else. I got a feeling this was a great big panel at one point, and for some reason they cut it down and turned it into a valance. But it's a beautiful piece of silk, beautiful color. The orangey yellow is extremely pretty, and they have all kinds of little extra decorations in here, and auspicious bats and clouds and so forth. And there's the dragons in the corner, the little 5-clawed gilt thread dragon. Very, very nice. The estimate is $1,000 to $1,500. It's already up to $4,600, and I think that tells us that the people that collect these are saying this is not a Republic period valance. This is older than that, and I suspect that many are dating it to the first half of the 19th century, Daoguan to Zhai to Daoguan period, somewhere in there. It's very nice and we'll see where it ends up. But it's gonna be. I've got I'll bookmark it now, and I can tell you next week what it brings. It closes in 5 or 6 days. Nice looking thing. And then on to this, the pair of vases. This is also Bottoms Skinner in Boston. Nice pair of vases. This style of vase, it's interesting. I had an inquiry for one of these the other day, and I've had others, and I've had pairs of these over the years. And there's always a debate about how old they are, whether they're Qing or Republic or modern and so forth. And this one is Qing. These are Qing. And a number of years ago, I had a pair of these very, very similar. I think they actually had Jai Jing marks instead of Qianlong marks on them, but they sold just fine, and they ended up selling for about $1,500 per vase. So I think you're going to get up there with these also, because it's a pair, and people will pay a premium for a pair, and they measure 14 inches in height, which is a good size. It's almost the perfect size for most people's purposes. And these with a beautiful set of a group of flowers on them would look absolutely wonderful. Very, very nice blue and white pieces. And then over to this. This is in the Skinner sale. It is a fake, and I'm only setting this because I've had a number of copies. They've dated as Republic period. I don't believe it is. I think this is brand new, from what I'm seeing. And people like to use the Republic period as sort of a catch-all for anything they can't date. The bottom of this, the color of that paste, the way it's done, it's just no. I believe this to be a modern reproduction. It's got a few bidders on it, and that's it. But even as a Republic, I don't know. If it was a Republic, I suppose it might be worth a couple of thousand. But I don't think this one is. I think this is a modern copy. A lot of these in this form, in particular, have turned up in the market, and they didn't make a lot of these in the Republic period. That's the other thing. You often see these very fine quality reproductions of Qianlong and Jiaqing and Kangxi pieces and all this, and people will say, "Well, it's Republic." No, the Republic period was not a period of massive production of porcelain. They certainly made porcelain. They made some very good copies of earlier pieces. But the amount of stuff that's on the market today posing as Republican is just absurd. It's just absurd. They produced porcelain, but China was going through a huge, socio-political upheavals at this time during the Republic period. Things were changing, and it's just not something they were really doing much of. All right, and then over to this. This is Lion and Turnbull over in the Edinburgh in the UK. They got a sale coming. They don't have a lot of porcelain in it, but they've got some neat Chinese furniture. If you're over there in the UK, this is totally impractical for anybody in America to bid on, because shipping a piece of furniture like this table from England to New York or anywhere in the States is going to cost you thousands of dollars to get it crated up and shipped. But if you're in the UK or Ireland or Scotland and you're going to this auction, you want to check this table out. This is a big table. It's 5 feet long, beautifully carved, late Qing, second half of the 19th century. It's got this nice marble top in it. It's a beautiful, beautiful example, and it definitely would go with it has a strong, with all the heavy carving, it has a strong kissing cousin to some Chippendale furniture, but beautifully done. And they're dating it as late 19th century, which I think is about right. Estimate $2,000 to $3,000, £2,000 to £3,000 rather. I think that's also reasonable. This is a very nice table. It's a very elegant table, and right now it only has 3 bidders watching it. In the sale, but the sale's not for another 2 weeks, so 2.5 weeks. You have to take that into account. But if you're looking for a good table and you're in the UK, you want to check that one out. It's a beautiful, beautiful carving on that. And also this is the same sale. I think they got into a house that had a lot of China trade stuff. This is a pair of horsehair upholstered, which is very nice. This is what horsehair can look like upholstered. These lines. It's very expensive. It's very durable, and if you get a chair with nice horsehair upholstery, thank your lucky stars, because it's incredibly expensive to have put on something. I read somewhere they get the hairs. There's a company in England doing horsehair furniture, horsehair upholstery, and as I recall, they were getting the horsehair out of Central Asia from herdsmen, buying the tails and all this for the animals. It was sort of a funny story. And he was so thrilled to have met this group that he could buy horsehair from. All right. Anyway, this is a nice pair of chairs. Beautifully carved, heavily carved. Very elegant, very classic, very Victorian appearance. Estimated at $600 to $800, £300 opening bid. Should get there. They should bring $600 or $800 a piece, I would think. All right. And then over to this is this bonheur du jour a cabinet, Chinese export, first half of the 19th century. Very nice example, though. Sometimes you see these without the bases. You'll see the upper section. They often got separated, or the bases would get damaged. They put it aside and just put the desk and the flip surface down, because this thing opens up right here. This surface, this thing has a hinge on it right there, and it flips open forward to give you a writing surface, and then you keep your papers and your letters and everything inside of it. It's a beautiful piece of furniture, though, and it's estimated reasonably 12 to 1,800 pounds. I think that's a no-brainer. Again, if you're looking for a great piece of furniture, Chinese furniture, export furniture, this is a very nice example, and it looks to be in overall great condition, especially the base. Usually the bases on these are just beat up. They get dragged, they get bumped, they get stretched, distressed, they get cracked. You always want to check them, make sure it hasn't been glued back together. But this one looks pretty solid. I'm not too worried about it. Nice looking thing. And then this is also in the same sale as this very unusually heavily lacquered flip top or tilt top table. 1880s roughly, somewhere around there. But look at the way the dragons are drawn. Everything is very thick. There's a real sort of almost folk art heaviness to this. It's like they took a very delicate engravings you have of Chinese landscapes with the great pagoda in the background and all that, and then they sort of beefed it up with this very heavy lacquer job, and it's the kind of thing that could go terribly wrong or work. And I think in this case it worked. It definitely worked. It looks good, and the base is fabulous. And it's got feet on the base, very similar to the wooden feet you see on China trade lacquered tea caddies from the same period. And they would use these dragon heads or these creature heads as the feet on the front of tea caddies. And here it is on the bottom of this tilt-top table. It's a very nice table. And these tables are handy, too, by the way, because you can fold them up and put them off to the side of a room. That's how they were meant to be kept. These were for occasional use. So you could tilt the top up and put it up against the wall so you have a bit of art to look at with the top of it when you're not using it as a table. All right? If you do buy this and you're thinking of using it as a table, though, get a sheet of glass for it that fits it nicely so you're not scuffing up the lacquer work. All right, now over to this. This was something that sold very well. This was at Christie's in what's called the exceptional sale, and it was an auction of sort of really interesting things from different cultures, and it's a fun auction to look at because they have all kinds of very strange. And they could have Chinese things in there, and they could have some African things in there. They could have some Native American things in there. They could have some Fabergé in there. Whatever it is that's exceptional. Those are the kind of things they go after. And this one was given a fairly modest estimate of $50,000 to $70,000. It's a Zitan late Qing chair or thrones thing. It's only a couple of feet long. It's not as big as it looks, but it's beautifully carved. The quality on this thing is just amazing. Notice the archaistic fretwork across the front and the way the legs are done, the big gutsy returns on the curl of the foot at the bottom. The ball on the bottom of the feet are all still there, which is almost a miracle. It's really, really well done table. And everybody loved it. And it ended up blowing the estimate away and selling for $252,000 US, which is a strong price. But again, Chinese furniture has been strong, but it's interesting to see how strong some of the Qing furniture is getting. It seems to be on an upward journey here. Ming furniture has been popular and doing extremely well at auction now for years. 30 years it's been doing pretty well and doing better every time. And now it seems, for a while there was sort of not an aversion to Qing furniture, but there wasn't as much interest. And now that I think that the Ming market is, pretty solidified, people are interested in furniture, and time is going on. They're now looking at Qing examples, and this is the kind of thing that would definitely appeal to a high-end furniture collector, because the quality of work is just is all over this thing. It's just all over it. I think it needs an oiling. I don't think it's been oiled in quite a while. I always like to see furniture get oiled. It's good for the wood. All right, and then over to this, the pair of soldier vases. I previewed these a few months ago when they were up for sale, and I forgot to go back and get the price realized, because these are known as soldier vases. They're Kangxi period vases. They're very big. They're over 50 inches tall, and they got that name because the vases of this size and style were collected by Augustus the Strong. And there's a famous story about Augustus the Strong trading 500 soldiers with their horses for a collection of Chinese porcelain That's how desperate he was. He was a real fanatical collector. And there's the Meissen Museum now with a lot of things that had belonged to him. It was a massive collection. He had thousands of pieces in it, and he devoted his life to collecting and to the making of by getting people to make porcelain. He was just absolutely fascinated with it. And these did very well. They brought 491,000 British pounds. But they're absolutely beautiful, and I don't think it's a crazy price. I think these among the Chinese works of art in the market are sort of on the undervalued side, given what they are and how big they are, and they're very interesting history of how they got the name that they have today. But anyway, I wanted to go back and revisit that to tell you all what they brought. At the time, I believe we said that the estimates there seems awfully low, 60 to 80,000 pounds. And again, people ignore estimates; they don't care. All that told them was that the reserve is probably 50 or 55,000, which is nothing for a pair of vases like this. So everybody jumped on it. All right, and then over here to this. This sale's coming up tomorrow. It's a reminder. It's the Jordan Saunders collection, and it's taking place on February 3rd, which is tomorrow. And in it, I know a lot of you have been looking at it, so this is just a reminder. There's a pile of very good China trade porcelain in here. Famille-Rose figural things, blue and white pieces. There's some nice dinner services and so forth, and a lot of armorial ware. But there's some of these very fine examples, and we've seen these in the last few months. There's been several auctions with a number of these in them, and the estimate certainly seems within range. Opening bid 12,000, 15 to 25,000 estimate, and I suspect it'll get there. I'll get there. All right, and then there's another grouping of here. Here's 4 figures, estimated at 8 to 12,000. Not quite as fine as the other two, but very nice quality. Estimated at 8 to 12, we'll probably get there, I suspect, and so forth. And then the plates. There's a number of dinner services in here. This is one I mentioned before, just because it struck me as being so pretty. And it's basically borderless. It's rose mandarin from the first half of the 19th century, probably done around 1820 or 30. And there's no borders on these, which makes them very unusual, very desirable. Each one is like a little canvas. And the estimate is $10,000 to $15,000, $10,000 opening bid. How many pieces? 37 pieces. There's a lot of pieces in here. And so just do the basic math in your head. If you got 37 pieces, assuming they're in good shape and they're not all glued back together, that you have to check on yourself, figure each one of these plates is worth a minimum of $300. All right, so 300 times 37 is 10,000. There's your estimate. And I think they're worth more than that. I think some of the bigger pieces will do better than that. But just as an example, you got shrimp dishes in here, you got some serving plates, you got some little rectangular serving plates and so forth. You got this rather attractive oblong platter, which to me looks like it's probably $1,000 to $1,500 plate. And then you have 2 smaller ones here. They look like they're worth probably $800 to $1,200 a piece and so forth. So I think it's a pretty good lot, in other words. Sort of selling myself on it. So if you like this kind of thing, you want to go after it, because you don't see these dinner services as much as you used to. Occasionally they turn up, but not often. Not often. The Getty collection had a couple, and families that did old-time collecting where they bought up dinner services to use them as dinner services are the ones you're likely to find will have these. And these plates look like they're in good shape, so go after them. All right, now over on eBay this week, the results were fine as always. There were some pieces that brought a couple of hundred, a few pieces that brought a few thousand. A lot of the pieces in the global pages don't close until this weekend. That we got sort of ahead because there were a whole bunch of 10-day auctions posted on Thursday of last week, so they're going to overlap a little bit. But we're going to add a bunch of new things to the newsletter page this week, and so check it out. All right. At any rate, let's see what's sold this week. There are a few things that are interesting. Oh, one of the things, if you're into Japanese art and you don't have this book, it's going to be on the newsletter page. Buy it. Buy this book. It is a very thick, heavy book. It's a beast. It's been around for about over 30 years now, and it's called Legend in Japanese Art. And in it has all of the iconography, the forms, the styles, the shapes, all the little things that you can't ever find in one place. They've somehow managed to get most of it into this book. It is absolutely worth $105 as a reference. It's absolutely worth it. So if you don't have it, I put it on there last week. I thought somebody would grab it. If you collect Japanese art and you don't have this book, get this book. It'll help you a great deal. It's a very good book. I've had it since it came out when it was new. and love it. I've dog-eared the thing. Anyway, and then there's this China for the West by Howard and Ayers. This book is available. This set of books, China for the West, is available all over the internet. There's lots of places selling them, and they typically sell them anywhere on the low end with some wear and damage to the covers. They're worth about $275 to $300, and then there are other sellers on ABE and Amazon that are asking $1,990 for one of these sets of books. So he's asking $499. I would ask him if he could come up with a better price, because they just give him a little bit of a grind, try to get the price down. This one, though, looks like it's in good condition. That's why he may be asking a bit of a strong price, because the dust jackets look good, has its original slipcase and all that stuff. He's asking $499. But if you buy Chinese export wares and you don't have this book, you're probably going to wish you did at some point. And, you got to bite the bullet. Books are expensive, I know, but they never go down in value. This is the thing about Asian art reference books. I've never seen them decline in value because they don't reprint them typically. All right, and now over to this, some of the results. There was this sort of archaistic style Qing bronze. It looks to me like it's probably an 18th century example, and it sold for $564. Perfectly legit looking. It's got a few bumps and bangs to it, but the surface on it looks undisturbed, which I like a lot. It's got a lot of its original grunge and crap all over it, and you can tell it's been polished a few times because all the details on the head are a little bit smooth and so forth. So it was probably polished in the beginning of the 19th century or something. Anyway, it did fine. It sold for $564. Not a bad buy. And then this is just sold, and this is a orange sepia armorial cider jug, 10 inches tall, sold for $331. That was a bargain for orange sepia. That was a really, really good buy with those strap handle vases. Now maybe there's something wrong with it. Maybe there was some restoration. I couldn't see any. And if it's unrestored, that was an absolute steal. That was a very good price. That was a very, very, very favorable price. All right. And then over to this, the last thing is this little bronze. This was in the newsletter for 2 weeks because the way he posted it, it ended up being shown twice. And I think this went very reasonably. And I think it may have shied people away because the color isn't that deep brown patina that a lot of you look for. Keep in mind that bronzes were frequently polished. Old bronzes in the 18th and 19th century from earlier periods, Ming bronzes and stuff, when people had them in the West, they used to polish them all the time. And occasionally you'll see a good Ming bronze. It's as shiny as a brass bell. And it's because it's always been polished. And often in the cracks and crevices you can see dried up polish dust. But this looked like a very nice, very unusually formed incense stick, joss stick holder. I like the branches on it. I like the surface. And I love the examples they do with the bases are built into the vase. I like that look a lot. And that was sort of a popular thing in the late Ming and early Qing dynasty. If this is Qing, it's early Qing. It's not late Qing. And somebody picked it up for $357. That was a good buy. That was a very nice buy. All right. And that sort of covers it for the week. There's been a lot going on. There's a lot of sales coming up. Check out the global member pages. Check them out. They've been updated 3 times this week. One day I forgot to put the note in that it had been updated, but somebody emailed me and said, you added all the stuff. You forgot to hit you mark it updated. I apologize. And the Patreon guys, check out the stuff we've posted over there this week. We've put up quite a bit of content, and we're trying to build it out. And those of you that use the global pages, if you think the Patreon pages cost a little more money to join. Just to bring this up, I don't want to beat it to death, but it costs an extra $1 a month or so. But we're able to get a lot more content onto it the way they allow you to set up the pages. So if you like the global pages, but you want to get the other content, close out your global member subscription and go to the Patreon. It's easy, and then you get all the other stuff that we put up during the week. It's an extra $1 a week. But we're, as I said before, all these things that we do that we charge for are just to pay for everything on here. It's just to pay for the site fees and all the assorted plugins. There's 87 plugins last time I checked running on the bitamount.com site, which is abnormally high number because there's a lot of content and links in here. All right, and that's all stuff that we have to constantly keep up on. All right, that's all I have to say. Have a great weekend. enjoy it. We had a little bit of snow here this week, and then it's all melted, and it's about 40 or so degrees today. But they've gotten snow up north, so my kids have been heading up country doing some skiing. It sounded good. And there we are. All right. Have a great week. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the thumbs up button. Leave a comment. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.